They're definitely extreme, and the criticisms are very valid. The criticisms were valid in 2009 when Labor brought in its laws too, and these laws are much harsher than those.
So extreme. Do you think their intent simply is to intimidate the bikies, if you like?
Oh, I think there's an argument you can make that the intent of these laws is possibly not even to implement them as much as use them to scare the bikies out of the state. In the Hansard, the politicians are quite explicit in saying the purpose is to get the bikies out of Queensland, and there has been a history of tough laws seeing bikies move to other jurisdictions where the laws are less harsh.
But if you get the bikies out of Queensland, does that mean that you're pushing the problem onto another state?
Absolutely. That's exactly what's happening, yes.
The Queensland Government says that this is just the first phase of a crackdown on bikies, and that other ideas include pushing them out of any involvement in the fitness industry, the security industry, even the used car business. Do you see those as effective methods of trying to rid the state of the bikies?
Well, we don't really know what's going to be effective, if anything's going to be effective, because no one's ever rid any state of bikies or any form of organised crime. So they're trying to use very, very harsh laws to see what will happen, and that's why they're talking about, I suspect, a second round of laws. Are any of these laws reasonable? Are they tied to any form of criminological evidence? Not really. They're a very strong attempt to intimidate, and they may work in that sense. That doesn't make them justifiable, but it might make them work.
Do you think we're paying too much attention to bikies? There are other organised criminal enterprises, after all.
Yes, no, we pay too much attention to bikies because we can see them. Bikies culture is all tied around the fact that they're intimidating to the public, that they drive around and people can see who they are and what they're doing. So we see them all the time, but they account for a very, very small proportion of the types of crime we're actually trying to prevent here, whether it be street violence or organised crime.
These laws have now been introduced in Queensland. The government, as I said, is talking about a second phase of even more restrictions. How much time do you think these new laws need to be given before we can make a judgment on whether or not they are actually working?
It's going to be hard to tell because we don't really know what working means yet. Even in the Act itself, they're just making blanket statements, we want these groups out of Queensland. If we're talking about stopping organised crime, well, it may have absolutely no effect. It may mean they simply carry on organised crime and don't wear jackets with patches on the back. So the aim of the laws is to close down the organisations with the names that are listed, those 26 motorcycle groups that are listed under the regulations of the Act. They're not there to stop street violence, they're not there to stop organised crime, they're there to stop these groups existing and participating as a named organisation in these forms of crime.